Hello, welcome to another tutorial on domestic life. We're going to be looking at this little view that I've got today to use our theme, which is 1-point perspective. There are a few different types of perspectives, but this is the kind of the easiest one to get your head round. So we are going to have a little try at this today, and this will also be part of the weekly challenge as well. And excuse me if I'm wobbling because I'm hand holding the camera at the moment. So perspective is a great tool to use when you're tackling anything, buildings, street scenes, and in this case sheds, greenhouses, landscapes use perspective. A lot of landscapes use 1-point perspective as well, and it's a great way to build composition, and it also gives composition narrative as well, because you get a bit of a journey going on in your work then, because your eye follows the lines of the perspective and hopefully makes it for more of an interesting picture. And yeah, it's a slightly tricky one to get your head around to start with, but once you've got your head around it, it kind of becomes second nature. So I have just done a few sketches here, which I'll kind of roughly show you, just thumbnails. Pencil, charcoal for this. Great for building your composition and great for building it in layers. I've kind of used a lot of lines putting these ones together. There's a wee one there that I've just made up of landscape where you can kind of see, got the 1 point there in the top corner, and then all the kind of lines radiate away from that, and you've got a road and a fence and some mountains in the distance. But that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about narrative, and it gives it that kind of leading lines, and it takes you into the composition a little bit. So we aren't going for precision with these drawings. We're going for, initially we're going to be trying to get thumbnails. So this will be a way of kind of getting views and setups down really quickly if you practice with the thumbnail technique, doing sketches and preliminary drawings for bigger work. If you're doing any of Liz's paintings, etc. So I would say you could probably get about 6 thumbnails on one of your sheets in your journal, maybe 4 if you want to work a tiny bit bigger. And it's just a really good way of not, concentrating too much on a bigger composition. It's just a way of getting lines down quite quickly, like I've done on the top one there. So yeah, just using a few lines, and you can move the 1-point perspective around. So in this one I've got it in the top left hand corner, this one I've got it in the top right hand corner, and then just kind of play around with that as well. And if you Google perspective, you will get perspective drawing, you'll get a lot of information on there. But just look at the drawings that say 1-point perspective, or just put 1-point perspective into Google if you're wanting any other ideas. But really good, because we're doing the domestic life now, and it's a good way of kind of focusing on it in kind of a basic way. So they're the basic lines that kind of radiate out that you're after. And then I did a little bit more of a complicated sketch here, and the 1 point is just sitting at the top here. So even though the barrow is a bit of a funny angle, it still helps to get that sitting where it should be and narrowing as it goes backwards. Even things like putting the wheel and getting the wheel in the right place. And I've got the forks. Obviously it doesn't look the same because I've just spent about 5 minutes doing it. But I don't think we should go maybe for really accurate representational drawings. I think we should just go for practicing getting the perspective in. And I've exaggerated the perspective on this just to make it a bit more obvious. The shed isn't actually narrowing that much to the end, but I think it just kind of makes the point a little bit clearer. So yeah, try thumbnails. and hopefully it'll be a little way of unwinding, because you're only aiming to do a thumbnail. Probably should take 5-10 minutes maximum, and kind of look at it like problem solving, a bit like doing a Sudoku puzzle or something like that. You know, sit yourself down. You could be at one end of the kitchen, you could be sitting and looking down the side of your house, just anywhere where you can get those perspective lines. And it's going to be difficult to start with to get your eye in, but I would say just be brave with it, and just be proactive and just get the lines down on the paper. Hopefully by now you've maybe got over a little bit of the fear of the blank paper, and you're a bit more okay to just kind of fire in and have a go at things. So yeah, a little bit difficult to get your eye in to start with, but we're not really after any finished drawings, so there's no need to criticize what you've done. And that's something that we all need to be careful of, is, you know, kind of putting the critical posts, preempting anything that you put up on the Facebook page, because, you know, everybody else is saying really nice things about what you're doing, and maybe you should kind of look at, you know, what you're doing as a positive thing, and kind of looking at the positive aspects of what you've done, and maybe try and look at your own work and comment on your own work like you would do somebody else's work, you know, and look at the positive parts of the drawings. So this is also going to be the weekly challenge as well, is to get some domestic settings done with thumbnail perspective. So they could be, you know, houses, greenhouses, views down the inside of your house, anything like that really, anything that kind of ties in with that. And, you know, kitchen, garden, outside, outhouses, sheds, maybe street views. I think they would come under the domestic banner. And a little tip would probably be to Google sketches of architecture. If you put in sketches of architecture on Google, a lot of perspective drawings come up there as well, which are very useful. So once you have kind of roughly drawn out your perspective, you can then build where you want things to sit, and you can do that with very light lines as well. It's actually really good fun using perspective. And, you know, the best thing to do is just play around with it. And, you know, if you do have to exaggerate something to make it look a bit more realistic, just go for it, you know. Drawing's not all about absolutely putting every tiny detail down accurately. You know, if you were always tied to that with drawing, it would be incredibly boring. So have fun with it. You know, if you want to exaggerate things to make a street look longer and bigger at the front and smaller at the bottom, yeah, 1 point perspective, I would only Google that, and I would only have a go at that to begin with. There are other types, but this is probably the easiest one to kind of get your head around. And once you've got that 1 point sitting, you know, in the right place, it might take a few goes to get the point in the right place. You know, if you kind of having a go at what I've done today, I had to put it in a couple of different places to make it work. But have a go with it and have fun with it. And any questions, we are on Facebook, so enjoy, guys.